In 2017, Hulu released The Handmaid's Tale, a show about a near-future society in which a totalitarian group has overthrown the U.S. government. Adapted from the 1985 Margaret Atwood novel, the series became an instant sensation, but even die-hard fans may not know the whole story. Series creator Bruce Miller is no stranger to writing for television. He's worked on a slew of popular TV shows, such as ER, Everwood, and The 100. But The Handmaid's Tale was the first show he created. Miller had been imagining how to adapt the story on screen long before he was able to make it a reality. In an interview with The Dream Cage, Miller explained that he was assigned the book in college for a class. He said, "I loved the story. I was always a big fan of books that built the post-apocalyptic world. After school, I read it a couple of times over the years. Margaret Atwood was really one of the people that taught me how to write and how to think like a writer. As my career moved into TV, I thought, oh, this would make a great TV show." Explaining that he was fascinated by the thought of diving into all the details in the book, Miller saw a larger world ripe for exploration. But more than anything, he was attracted to the characters Atwood had created. He explained, "It all goes back to the people who live in this world and how they survive and how they're trapped by their own choices. I wanted to tell the story about how these people lived through the experience and how they came out the other side alive and with some of their identities still intact. That was the thing I loved about the book, realizing by the end that Offred has kept herself alive." Along with being adapted for the stage a handful of times, including at the Haymarket Theatre in the UK in 2002, The Handmaid's Tale also has a film adaptation. The 1990 film was directed by Volker Schlundorf and starred Natasha Richardson as Offred, whose real name is Kate in this version. Faye Dunaway co-starred as Serena Joy, with Robert Duvall as the commander and Victoria Tennant as Aunt Lydia. The film loosely sticks to the events of the book, though the last act plays out a bit differently, much as it does in the first season of the series. But unlike the series, the film wasn't well received. It has a 32% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, while the 2017 series scored a 94% for its first season. In a retrospective look back at the film around the time the Hulu series debuted, Le Movie Buff summed up the movie's review, saying, "Schlondorf's treatment is idly drab and antiseptic, indifferent almost, as though he felt Atwood's vision was cinematic enough." The design team for the Handmaid's Tale TV series doesn't let any space go to waste, making sure each room of the set is ripe with deeper meaning and messages. Some examples include the commander's office, which Offred frequently visits in Season 1. It's filled with things that are off-limits to women, like books, art, and alcohol. In a similar vein, Offred's bedroom is a reminder of a life that she can't have.
If we're caught reading, they'll cut off a finger. Second offense, just the whole hand.
In a 2017 interview with Architectural Digest, production designer Julie Berghoff explained some of the meanings behind their set designs, saying, "We put a desk there, but she can't write, so it's almost like a remnant, a remembrance of, oh, I was a writer and editor. I can't even sit and write anymore. They don't want you to be vain anymore, so we basically put the shape of a mirror on the wall to make it feel like at one point there was a mirror there." While Margaret Atwood's 1985 Handmaid's Tale novel is a work of fiction, many of the horrific details of the book are pulled from real-life examples of authoritarian treatment toward women. In a 2017 interview with The Guardian, Atwood said, "When it first came out, it was viewed as being far-fetched. However, when I wrote it, I was making sure I wasn't putting anything into it that human beings had not already done somewhere at some time." Stylist published an article with real-life historical terrors that Atwood pulled from, like the enforced dress code the handmaids of Gilead are forced to wear. Stylist wrote, "Religious clothing can be and still is forced upon women by authorities in other more conservative communities. The Amish, for example, insist that women wear long dresses made of dark fabrics and head coverings every single day. Another example is the enforced surrogacy for the sake of the most privileged getting to raise children," Stylist reported. In Australia, as recently as the 70s, Indigenous children were lawfully stolen from their homes and placed in religious institutions or fostered out to white families. From the end of World War II up until the late 70s, similar programs were carried out in the USA and Canada. When asked about real-life forced pregnancy in an interview on The View, Atwood said,
"Which century would you like to visit? Which country would you like to visit? Which state in the United States would you now like to visit?"
In the novel The Handmaid's Tale, all people of color have been forced out of Gilead, leaving only white central characters. And there aren't any LGBTQ characters in Atwood's novel either, but this isn't the case in the television series, a change show creator Bruce Miller found vital. He told Time in 2017, "What's the difference between making a TV show about racists and making a racist TV show where you don't hire any actors of color?" Miller also told The Hollywood Reporter,
"Real diversity actually is the way to actually use those experiences, because I think when you have a singular voice in the room, there's no one to challenge it."
Right.
But the ways in which the show deals with race is one of the biggest criticisms it faces. In 2017, The Guardian pointed out that what the Handmaids go through is eerily similar to what Black women went through on a daily basis during slavery. Yet that parallel is ignored in the show. The Guardian reported, "None of these details are the inventions of Atwood's imagination or embellishments from Miller's writer's room. This is what actually happened during 245 years of slavery in the U.S., albeit to Black women rather than white ones." Vulture also addressed this issue in 2017, writing, "The show doesn't end up considering the racial dynamics of June's family or what it means to be a handmaid of color. In reality, though, it's more concerned with the interiority of white women at the expense of people of color who recognize that Gilead isn't a possible horrifying future, but the reality of what America has always been." Elizabeth Moss has garnered a ton of attention for her stunning lead performance as Offred, a role which requires a lot of close-ups of her face as she deals with hardship upon hardship. With each of the close-ups, Offred's emotion, whether it's sorrow, rage, or rarely, joy, is crystal clear. And what becomes clearer to viewers with these close-ups is Offred's lack of makeup. Naturally, a handmaid wouldn't be allowed to wear it, as vanity isn't an option for them in the dystopian society. A character not wearing very much makeup isn't new for film or television, but it's rare for an actor to not wear any makeup at all. Minimal makeup is typically applied on the actor for filming purposes, even if to give the impression of no makeup. But The Handmaid's Tale uses a much more natural approach, and Moss forgoes makeup for most scenes. If makeup is applied, it's typically to make the character of Offred, known in her old life as June, look more tired. Moss told Yahoo Style in 2017, "If you're not sleeping a lot because you're working your butt off and you get dark circles and bags under your eyes, the more you have, the better. You're supposed to look stressed. In fact, one night I got sleep. I came in and my makeup artist was like, 'Oh dear,' and was disappointed that I didn't have the dark circles under my eyes that we needed." The Handmaid's Tale is a great example of how powerful voiceover can be when used well. June's voiceover gives the audience an essential look into who she is at her core, rather than the identity of Offred that she's forced into as a handmaid. Discussing his surprise over how perfectly the voiceover worked for the scenes, Bruce Miller told Vulture in 2017, "We shot these bits of Lizzie just sitting in a room, quietly going through emotional phases, and when I watched it paired up with the voiceover, it worked perfectly. And I said, that's lucky." Except it wasn't luck. It turns out that Moss had memorized all of her voiceover dialogue so she could run it through her head while filming the scenes, to make sure the narration would match the setting.
Take some.
I don't need oranges. I need to scream.
But Moss is a bit more modest about her acting chops. She told Vulture, "It's a part of the script. Why wouldn't I memorize it? How else am I supposed to know what I'm thinking? I'm sitting there for 30 seconds. I have to be thinking about something. I just thought that was part of my job." Upon its debut, many people viewed the Handmaid's Tale series as a response to the 2016 election, in which Donald Trump was elected president. Trump has been accused of sexual assault, one of the many horrors the handmaids must suffer through. The show touches on abortion and other women's health issues, which some viewed as a direct criticism. It's a connection that can't be completely ignored, but it's also one that's mostly not true. The Hollywood Reporter pointed out in 2017 that much of the first season was completed before Trump was elected, making it one of the most unintentionally relevant shows in recent years. However, when the cast and crew returned for a second season, the general atmosphere was much different on set. The 2016 election results couldn't be ignored, and headlines about the show made the connection. Samira Wiley, who plays June's close friend Moira, spoke with Vanity Fair in 2017 about how the election impacted everyone on set. Wiley stated, "Coming back to the show, it was, oh my gosh, we have an even bigger responsibility now. To have this show be excellent, have it have all the integrity it should have." The Handmaid's Tale was an instant success, and with that came instant recognition. At the 2017 Emmys, the Hulu show swept the night. With 13 nominations, the series won 8 awards, including 3 acting categories: directing, writing, and production design. The series also won the coveted Outstanding Drama Series. With these wins, the series became the first show from a streaming service to ever win the Emmy for Best Drama Series. With streaming services becoming more prominent and continuing to produce award-worthy content, The Handmaid's Tale could go down in the history books. Backstage after the show's Emmy wins, show creator Bruce Miller told Deadline, "The way that Hulu handled our show, they were bold and behind us and really committed to making something interesting. If the streaming services continue to do that, I don't see a limit to how many Emmys they can win." The first season of The Handmaid's Tale covers all of the events of Margaret Atwood's novels, so the second season was an unexpected continuation of the story for fans. And with season 5 on the way, Bruce Miller says he doesn't currently have an end date in sight. Miller told The Hollywood Reporter, "I certainly don't have a number of seasons in mind. It's just that I'm finding more interesting paths along the way and more interesting things to do as we move towards more fascinating parts of the story." Miller continued by declaring that there was another person vital in deciding how many seasons the show would get. He said, "When I said that I'll do the show as long as Lizzie Moss wants to do it, that is born of the pandemic and born of the work she's done this year. She deserves to have me there writing for her as long as she wants. She earned that this year. I will write beautiful words for her to say for as long as she wants to say them." It's clear Miller is proud of the work he's done with The Handmaid's Tale and seems content on exploring the story for as long as possible. He told the Dream Cage, "I've loved this story for 35 years. I thought it was amazing, and I am lucky and privileged to be part of it now." Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.